The Pacific Ocean is now the main stage for the world's most consequential rivalry, the United States versus China. Nearly half of global maritime trade, trillions of dollars, crosses these waters every year, making the Pacific the lifeblood of the global economy. The region's security is just as vital, with U.S. allies like Japan, South Korea, and Australia relying on a stable balance of power. For decades, the U.S. Navy guaranteed this stability, but that era is ending. China's rapid economic rise and military modernization have upended the old order. Beijing is no longer content to play by Washington's rules. It's building a new system with itself at the center. The friction is visible: naval standoffs, economic competition, and diplomatic brinkmanship. The U.S. is shoring up alliances, while China flexes its economic and military muscle. Unlike the Cold War, these two powers are deeply intertwined, making the contest more complex and unpredictable. The rules are still being written, but the stakes, global trade, security, and the future of international order, couldn't be higher. The Pacific is no longer just a backdrop. It's the arena where the 21st century will be decided. The world is watching, and the outcome will shape all our futures. This is the Pacific Century's great game. After World War II, the United States built a new order in the Pacific, anchored by military power and a web of alliances. The U.S. Navy became the region's security guarantor, transforming the Pacific into what strategists called an American lake. Bases from Japan to Guam allowed Washington to respond rapidly to crises and deter threats. Formal alliances with Japan, South Korea, Australia, and others created a stable security architecture. This stability fueled Asia's economic miracles, with American markets and investment driving growth. The U.S. dollar became the region's financial backbone, and open trade lifted millions out of poverty. For decades, this system delivered peace and prosperity, with America as both protector and economic anchor. But this order depended on uncontested U.S. dominance, military, economic, and political. The Soviet Union was a rival, but never a true Pacific challenger. China, for much of the 20th century, was poor and inward-looking. Few imagined how quickly this landscape would change. The American lake seemed permanent, until China's rise began to rewrite the rules. Now the old order is under threat, and the Pacific's future is up for grabs. The stage is set for a new era of rivalry. The question: who will shape the Pacific century? China's transformation began in the late 1970s, embracing market reforms and integrating into the global economy. Its economic boom was staggering, nearly 10% growth for decades, lifting hundreds of millions out of poverty. This wealth fueled a dramatic military modernization, with the People's Liberation Army growing in size and sophistication. Under Xi Jinping, China abandoned caution, asserting itself in the South China Sea with island building and military outposts. Beijing's claims defied international rulings, directly challenging U.S. principles of freedom of navigation. By the 2020s, China's navy was the world's largest, and its missile and tech advances threatened U.S. dominance. The era of hiding strength was over. China now openly seeks to reshape the Pacific order. The dragon has risen, and its ambitions are clear. The U.S. faces a peer competitor determined to rewrite the rules. The Pacific is now a contested space, no longer America's alone. In 2025, U.S.-China tensions have erupted into open confrontation. Washington's new hawkish administration frames the rivalry as democracy versus autocracy, escalating military posturing. Beijing responds with massive military drills around Taiwan, simulating blockades and invasions. U.S. carrier groups shadow Chinese forces, bringing both sides to the brink of war. In the South China Sea, Chinese and Philippine vessels clash, prompting U.S. intervention under its defense treaty. These flashpoints show how quickly local disputes can spiral into superpower crises. The economic front is just as fierce. U.S. export controls target China's tech sector, while Beijing restricts rare earth exports. The world is being forced to choose sides as supply chains split and technology decouples. The U.S.-China rivalry is no longer a distant threat. It's a daily reality, reshaping the Pacific and the world. The risk of miscalculation has never been higher. The region is on edge, and the stakes are global. The confrontation is here, and it's only intensifying. At the heart of this rivalry are clashing visions for the Pacific's future. The U.S. wants to preserve the order it built: open seas, free markets, and a network of alliances. Washington sees its Pacific presence as vital for its own security and for deterring threats to allies. Economically, the US demands fair competition and accuses China of bending the rules. For America, this is a fight for the future of free market democracy. China, meanwhile, seeks to push US forces away and reclaim regional leadership. Beijing views the American alliance system as outdated and hostile, a relic meant to contain China. Xi Jinping's vision is a new security architecture with China at the center, restoring national pride and influence. Economically, China aims to dominate future technologies and bind the region through trade and investment. The ultimate prize is Taiwan. Reunification would shatter US credibility and cement China's dominance. Both sides see existential stakes, making compromise elusive. The contest is about power, identity, and the right to set the rules. The Pacific's fate hangs in the balance. The Pacific isn't just a US-China battleground. Regional powers like Japan, India, Australia, and South Korea are key players. They refuse to be mere spectators, balancing security ties with Washington against economic links to Beijing. Japan is rearming and deepening alliances even as it relies on China for trade. India, wary of China, draws closer to the US and the Quad, but guards its independence. Australia faces Chinese economic pressure but doubles down on US security ties through AUKUS. South Korea walks a tightrope, dependent on the US for defense and China for prosperity. These nations are hedging, not choosing, shaping the region's future through their own strategies. Their decisions could tip the balance towards stability or confrontation. The Pacific's middle powers are not pawns, they are pivotal actors. Their choices will help decide whether the region finds peace or slides into conflict. The Great Game is more crowded and more unpredictable than ever. The Pacific's small island nations have become strategic prizes in the US-China rivalry. Their locations offer control over vital sea lanes and potential military outposts. China courts them with infrastructure, loans, and diplomatic attention, as seen in its security pact with the Solomon Islands. The US and allies, after years of neglect, are racing to re-engage, offering aid, reopening embassies, and renewing security agreements. For island leaders, this attention brings both opportunity and risk. They welcome investment but fear debt traps and being caught in a superpower crossfire. Their top concern is climate change, an existential threat that overshadows geopolitics. Ultimately, these nations will align with the power that best addresses their survival. The battle for influence here is about more than bases or aid. It's about trust and long-term partnership. The fate of these islands could tip the regional balance. In the Pacific, even the smallest nations have a big role to play. A US-China conflict in the Pacific would have catastrophic global consequences. Trade through the South China Sea and Taiwan Strait would halt, triggering a worldwide recession. The world's supply of semiconductors, crucial for everything from cars to phones, would vanish overnight. Energy flows to Asia would be disrupted, causing economic chaos far beyond the region. Even a conventional war would be devastating. A nuclear escalation would threaten civilization itself. The rivalry risks splitting the world into hostile blocs, stalling cooperation on climate, pandemics, and security. The stakes are nothing less than global stability and prosperity. The Pacific's fate is the world's fate. The challenge is to manage competition before it spirals out of control. The world cannot afford a Pacific war. The Pacific stands at a crossroads: manage competition or catastrophic conflict. The best hope is for both sides to set clear boundaries, communicate, and compete without war. This tense peace would require restraint, wisdom, and diplomacy. The alternative is a slide into crisis, where miscalculation over Taiwan or the South China Sea sparks disaster. The choices made now will shape the century. Can the US and China coexist as rivals, or are we headed for collision? The Pacific Century's story is still being written. Its ending depends on the decisions we make today.